Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
And in this episode, we are going to be featuring a dissection of a few things about the bearded vegans.
That's right. The bearded vegans have been a big part of our journey to veganism and to vegan podcasting. And so we wanted to just do a very affectionate tribute to the Beardos today.
Absolutely.
Last week, they published their 300th episode, which just is mind-boggling.
I know. Can you believe that?
That's just amazing. So 6 years of podcasting together. But last week's episode was their final episode, which we are very sad about, but we will be looking forward to that sweet, sweet back catalog.
Absolutely.
For quite some time. I have a feeling we may just start at the beginning and go through again. Why not?
Yeah, so it all started back in 2015 with their episode 1, which was Cecil the Lion. I don't know if you all remember, Cecil the Lion was a African lion unfortunately poached by a dentist by the name of Walter Palmer. And I don't know why they always point out that he was a dentist because, you know, dentists aren't all bad people.
No, they're not. I know some dentists that I am actually quite fond of.
Yes, Sam's father is actually a dentist.
Very true. He's a good guy.
I don't know why they always preface any description of that man with the fact that he's a dentist, because it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he likes to go out and hunt beautiful animals. And since then, he's illegally killed some sort of rare goat, like mountain goat. Yeah, just awful. I just don't understand why people seem to feel the need to do that kind of thing.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's beyond comprehension to me. But anyway.
Yeah, so that's what started it all out for Paul and Andy. The bearded vegans are Paul Steller and Andy Tabar. And their friendship began back in the day because of music. Music brought them together. Andy was in a band that Paul loved and looked up to in Connecticut. And the name of that band was the Flaming Tsunamis was Andy's band. And he was the lead singer of the Flaming Tsunamis. And you can look them up. They're out there. And Andy was the lead singer.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, Andy's band was the Flaming Tsunamis. And Paul's band was Continuous Improvement.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. So that's how they met. I think Paul used to go and see Andy's band playing, and I think he just ran into him a number of times at shows, and they kind of hit it off, and that's where it all started, way back when. But yeah, we've been listening to them for probably about almost 4 years now, and we really enjoy listening to their episodes. We often listen. I used to listen to them when I commuted. I had over an hour commute each way for work, and now we listen to them when we go on any kind of road trip, and sometimes we just listen to them in the living room.
That's right. Yes, but they are our go-to road trip podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so anytime we get in the car to usually either to visit family or to go seek out wonderful vegan food, we're listening to Paul and Andy.
Yeah, we're usually being serenaded by the luscious voices of Paul and Andy.
Yes, indeed.
So we just wanted to kind of give a tribute. I mean, we could do an entire podcast just based on the bearded vegans.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
You could totally do like a podcast where you go through each episode and talk about what they talk about.
Easily.
Because their episodes are so well researched, and the conversations that they ignite are... It's just really good stuff.
It is good stuff. It's an incredibly good mixture of awareness and research, but also they just have an incredible rapport together. So it still feels casual and conversational. It doesn't get too stuffy or too dry. They laugh together very, very easily. They make fun of each other when it is called for. They make fun of veganism in general when it is called for. And I know I really appreciate that light approach. It just, to me, makes the podcast that much more enjoyable. They both have great voices. They're a pleasure to listen to. They're just wonderful. And the topics that they've covered over the past 6 years are so wide-ranging.
Yeah.
that there's a little something for everybody.
Totally.
If you really want to hear about food, then listen to some of their earlier episodes because they do a lot more discussion about food at that point. But, if you're really into activism and the politics of veganism and hearing interviews with folks who are out there doing really incredible work in the activist world, there are seemingly an infinite number of podcasts that'll satisfy that itch too.
Yeah. So we were looking at their back catalog, trying to decide what episodes do we want to talk about? Like, what were some of our favorite episodes? And there's so many, and we don't want this to be like over an hour long.
No.
So we've narrowed it down to one particular episode that I think really kind of encompasses, and they talk about what they're really all about, and that is episode 200.
Yes.
And I think they call it a dissection of the podcast.
Yes, a dissection of all things podcast.
Right.
As soon as Christine asked, what episode do you want to talk about? I said, I want to talk about episode 200. And I think that's because it's an episode that stands out very, very clearly to me for a few reasons. One, it was a mailbag episode. And so their mailbag episodes are where they are answering questions from their listeners.
Yeah,
which is always a great thing.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite episodes, the mailbag episodes.
Yeah, because then you're not just discussing one topic for an entire hour or anything like that. It kind of bounces around a little bit, and it gives us a perspective on what their other listeners are thinking.
Right.
So I've always enjoyed those. So that's one reason that I really liked episode 200. Episode 200 is also fabulous because of the intro.
Right. It's introduced by Dr.
Michael Greger.
Michael Greger, yeah.
Who I just love, and who I think it might be the single most enthusiastic intro of the Bearded Vegans ever.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great. So love hearing that. But also, I think it's really the first episode that got us considering starting a podcast.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Because they were talking about kind of how they got started and what some of the pitfalls are, what they love, what they don't love. They find to be really enriching about doing a podcast, what they find to be annoying about doing a podcast. And so I think that was really the first episode that got us thinking about possibly heading in that direction. And then, of course, there's the whole don't be a jerk conversation, which I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, yeah. Somebody writes in and asks them to, if you're not familiar, part of their opening montage and their opening song has them saying the phrase, don't be a jerk.
Yeah, it's our whole philosophy basically boils down to don't be a jerk.
Right. And so somebody wrote in and asked them to define what is being a jerk. And which is fantastic, because on the surface they're like, what? It's kind of vague, when we just say don't be a jerk. But when you delve into it, there really is that is kind of what it boils down to. When people are talking about veganism, or when people are asking you about veganism and how you respond to them, just don't be a jerk.
Right. And the thing is, I think it goes further than that. And I love thinking about this whole concept because I think it's applicable not only to veganism or activism of any type, but to life.
Right.
I mean,
don't be a jerk in life.
Just don't be a jerk in life. But what exactly does that mean? And I know in episode 200, Paul was kind of attaching the idea of not being a jerk specifically to activism. That when you're in activist circles, try not to be super abrasive, use constructive conversational techniques, which I completely agree with. And that also part of our job as activists is not only to get our own message out, but to try to understand where other people are coming from. To understand that we can't possibly know everybody else's circumstances and experiences and thought processes, and that we need to do the work to understand those who maybe don't think in the same way that we do.
Right. Yeah, you wrote down communication with compassion and empathy for others, seeking to understand the experiences and viewpoints of others while remaining true to your own ethics.
That's right. So no matter what the issue, and I really do think this is universal, whether it's, well, let's talk about any divisive issue. And there are just so many of them in the world anymore. But anything in the realm of politics, religion, ethics, et cetera, absolutely. As a human being, you have the right to decide what is right for you. Yeah. So a few years ago, Chris and I, we decided that going vegan was the right choice for us. And we let the people close to us know that we were going vegan, right. Just for their information.
Yeah.
It did not, however, immediately become our goal to convert everybody else we know to veganism.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's not that we think that would be a bad thing. Yeah. I think it would be awesome if everybody I know suddenly decided that they were going to be vegan.
It would be.
It would be. But realistically, that's not going to happen. So what our job is if people have questions, answer them with thoughtfulness and humility and humor and compassion. But don't try to force the issue. If folks are going to come to veganism, they're going to come to it in their own time and in their own way. And it's not our job to judge people for thinking differently than we do. It's not our place to decide we're not going to associate with people because they believe differently than we do, or they behave differently than we do. They're still people, and they're still deserving of that just basic respect that I think all living sentient beings are entitled to.
Wow. Yeah, well said.
Thank you.
I mean, in the world, it seems like we're just so polarized anymore.
Absolutely.
Over the last, 10 years or so, it seems like the world has become just this not just the United States, but the world has become this polarized place where people are unable to accept other people because of their views being different from their own.
Yeah, it has. I mean, and I think that that's been true to certain degrees throughout history. I doubt there's ever been a point in global human history where everybody's been on the same page.
Yeah.
I just don't imagine that could possibly have happened, except maybe in the very, very beginning before recorded history.
I suppose.
Maybe. I don't even know. But I think what it boils down to in a lot of situations is that people feel the need to be right.
Yeah, that's what it is. And especially with social media, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. People seem to need to be right.
Right. And so I would suggest turning that conversation from I need to be right or I'm doing what is right, because there's a lot of that, what is right, with 3 underlines under the is, to I am doing what is right for me. You need those extra 2 words.
Right.
For me, for my family, for the environment, but it needs to be qualified because there is no single is right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I think if everyone in the multitude of factions in a multitude of arenas could remember to qualify the is right.
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way towards, it's not going to solve everything, that's for sure. I don't think I'm right. So,
well, I think you're right.
That's right for me. But, I don't claim to speak for anybody else. So, who knows? But
right.
I think it would go a long way towards maybe bridging some of the gaps and opening conversation and because that's where we're going to make progress. If we're talking about differences.
Yeah.
Not if we're just saying, okay, well, you don't think like I do, so I'm not going to associate with you.
Right.
Or I'm not going to have a conversation with you, or I really wish you weren't my neighbor, or whatever it is. Like that just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I think you miss out on a lot of what somebody else might have to offer.
Absolutely.
By writing them off because they have different views, religious views or political views or, whatever, because they're different and you decide to shut them out of your life, you miss out on what that person has to offer you.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what I find really disturbing is that a lot of times when, we're kind of in that mode, you're excluding someone for one thing. Yeah. Whether it's their skin color or the language they speak or their religion or their stance on veganism or their political affiliation or whatever it is.
They like country music.
Right. Whatever it is. Yes, musical tastes, though I think that's ridiculous. But whatever it is.
And no offense to people out there that like country music.
No,
there is some good country music.
There is some good country music.
I was just trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does that. So, but that you're allowing one thing to take over every other thing that exists in that person's heart and mind.
Right.
And I think you're probably missing out on a lot of commonality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because of one difference.
Yeah. It's like you become a single issue voter when you're meeting people, right?
Yes. There we go. That was brilliant. Yes. So everybody out there, don't be
brilliant?
It was brilliant.
All right.
Yes. Don't be a single issue voter when you meet people.
Right.
Yeah. Just don't. I mean, we've talked about this before. Our families are fabulous and they are, for the most part, not vegan.
No.
And we don't think less of them for that.
A little. No, I'm kidding.
We do not.
We don't.
Please don't listen to her. Really, don't listen to her. No, but seriously, I mean, but that doesn't mean that we can't influence their thinking to a certain degree at certain times. Like, I was talking to my brother the other day, and he is hosting our family's Christmas this year. We trade. Every other year, my brother hosts. Every other year, Christine and I host.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him not to worry about catering to Christine and I because we are the only two vegans in that particular group of people. I said, don't worry about it. We can cook for ourselves. We'll do some grocery shopping on our way down to your house. Just don't worry about it. And he's like, no, actually, I've been doing some research. I've been doing some poking around, and I think I'm going to make a vegan meal.
I know, right? Didn't that just kind of blow your mind?
It totally blew my mind.
Yeah, mine too.
That was amazing. And so that's something that he would not have considered a couple of years ago.
No way.
No way. And it's not because he's anti-vegan. It's because he doesn't have the background. He doesn't know a whole lot about it.
He doesn't know.
That's right.
But the fact that I was really touched by the fact that he was looking into creating a vegan meal for us.
I thought that was amazing.
For everybody?
Yes.
I just wanted to hug him.
Well, yes. I thought it was absolutely amazing. And I think that that's a big deal.
Oh, that's a huge step, I think.
It's a huge step. And it does not mean that my brother and my parents and my niece are going to suddenly go vegan.
No.
Not going to happen. Not in a million years. But that he would be willing to alter his plans slightly so that he would serve everybody vegan food in order to accommodate us, I think is kind of amazing.
It's really amazing.
I'm sorry, but small steps mean everything.
Yeah. So to bring it back to the Bearded Vegans.
Yeah, we did. We kind of got away from the Beardos.
We kind of went off on a tangent
Paul
there.
And Andy.
Well, I mean, we didn't. we're exploring what they mean by, don't be a jerk, which I think is a huge aspect of that episode 200.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it was actually appropriate because, the Beardos, they tend to tangent too. So
they kind of, they can.
They can.
Yeah, they can.
It's all good.
And I'm going to totally miss them. I actually kind of teared up at the end of their 300th episode. And if you haven't listened to it, what are you doing? You got to listen to it.
Yeah.
It's great. And do not miss the almost 30 minutes of bloopers taken from over the lifetime of their podcast. I can't believe they saved all that audio.
Oh my gosh. All that B-roll.
Yeah, all that B-roll, all those bloopers. They're hilarious. It's just 30 minutes of them cracking each other up over the most silliest of things.
Yes. And just amazing.
Yeah. And how many times Andy ends up with bugs or spiders or something
in the van that he then has to deal with. Yeah, it's kind of fabulous. And
no, it was a beautiful, look into the behind the scenes. I could just listen to those bloopers all day long.
Yeah. And it really actually for me, it was very hopeful hearing all of those bloopers because, Christine and I sit here in our living room across from each other and, we have all kinds of moments where we either start cracking ourselves up or one of us completely loses our train of thought.
Yeah, or somebody has to burp.
Exactly. And so all kinds of things go wrong when we're recording the podcast. And then, Christine does her fantastic editing job and we actually hopefully sound like something decent.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. My pleasure. But just hearing all of that going, oh my God, okay, so these guys who have been doing this for 6 years, they have those moments too. Yeah. And those moments aren't bad. They're actually great.
Oh, they're
wonderful.
Amazing. They're amazing. And just like points where you don't even know what they're cracking up about.
Right.
They just and sometimes you don't know what they're cracking up about, but they just Andy will start laughing about something and just something silly, a word in a sentence that he's trying to read. And Andy's laugh makes Paul go off laughing. And they're just they can't even look at each other because they're over Skype or something. And they just can't even look at each other without cracking up for minutes on end. Yeah. It's really great. It's so funny.
It's fantastic. And it's so real and it's so in the moment.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. So definitely don't miss out on that 300th episode.
Yeah.
Don't miss out on any of their episodes. If you're not a bearded vegan listener, go back and check out their back catalog. I mean, I think they don't like it when people go back to the beginning because, vanity, I think, just because, they're new. We're new. I might not want to go back and listen to this episode in 6 years. And they do have,
that could be,
they do have on their website, they do have a guide, a start here guide, where if you're new to their podcast, they wanted you to start a specific episode and maybe listen to specific episodes,
right?
That they think are, important for people to hear.
Right.
But seriously, don't listen to them. Go back to number 1, Cecil the Lion, and listen to the laughter and the growth. And I think it's so cool to do that with a podcast, is to go back to the beginning and hear what they sounded like in the beginning, and hear how they've grown, how the show's grown, how the what's the word I'm looking for?
Evolution.
That's not the word, but that's a good word. I was actually looking for how the concept of their show kind of changes and morphs over over the years. Yeah
the concept evolved.
The concept evolves, and how they put things together evolves, and what they think is important. Like, they started out in the beginning and they had lots of food in their episodes, and then they decided, we don't want to take that much time talking about food because we want to get some more important things out. So they took all those food episodes and they put them on their Patreon. So if you wanted to hear about the food they're eating, and by the way, they've released all those episodes from behind the paywall. You can hear them now for free.
That's awesome.
Which I think is fantastic.
Totally.
Yeah. So definitely check all that out. Go to their website and check and go back to the beginning and listen to 300 episodes.
Yes. And it'll take you some serious time.
It might. It might. If you figure average an hour long, some of them longer, some of them shorter.
Yeah.
How long would that take? Is there any math geeks out there that could figure that out for us? Let's see. 300 episodes. That's 300 at least. Let's average 300 hours of listening.
Well, I mean,
how many days is that?
If you listened to one a day, you can do it in less than a year.
So there you go. So we've worked out your plans for the next year. January 1st, you start episode 1 of The Bearded Vegans, Cecil the Lion, and then get back to us when you get to 300.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm definitely going to go back to the beginning and start with Cecil the Lion.
Yeah, because it's so fun for me to hear how they progress, you know, and like you said, the evolution of the show. It's really, really fun to hear. And I'm going to miss them so much, but I wish them all the best of luck. And I think it's really cool to hear that they have other ideas, you know, not vegan podcast ideas, you know, like gaming. Andy's huge into gaming. They're both actually pretty huge into gaming, not video gaming, but like board gaming and escape rooms and stuff like that. And of course, Paul's huge into magic. He's a brilliant magician. If you want to check out some of the work that he does, you can check him out on Instagram. He's at Stay Pizzative on Instagram because he is the world's most positive man. And then you can reach out to Andy if you want to see what he's doing, because he does have his vegan clothing line, Compassion Co.
Yes.
And he's at Compassion Co. on Instagram. So check out what they're doing, but definitely check out Paul's magic because it blows my mind. I'm like, dude, how? I mean, I know it's sleight of hand. He does a lot of card work and stuff, but I can't figure it. You can't figure it out. It's like, how are you he makes like a deck of cards appear in his hand, like one at a time. Where are they coming from?
I don't know.
It's amazing. I've always been a huge fan of sleight of hand magic. It's just like, and sometimes he'll share other magicians that they just like boggle the brain.
So you will certainly be following Paul.
Oh, I do. I love watching what he posts.
That's awesome.
And cute dog stuff too, because he's got cute animals. He's got dogs and kitties. So
yeah, can't resist a cute doggo.
No, his dog is so cute. So what else do we want to talk about with the Beardos?
I don't know. I mean, I think really it just comes down to the fact that they are awesome, that we sincerely appreciate what they have done for the vegan movement over the past 6 years.
Yeah.
We are deeply grateful for the impact that they have had on us and our journey as vegans and now podcasters. Yeah, they've definitely steered us in directions we probably wouldn't go, you know, seeking out different activists and books to read and movies to watch. And 'cause they do a lot of movie reviews and they have some really great interviews. I think we already said. Yep. They make you think, you know, which I think was the whole point. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so we are just very appreciative of their presence in the world and in our lives. And we wish them all the best on all future endeavors, obviously. But we hope that all of you who are always looking for a good vegan podcast, check them out. And you can find them at www.thebeardedvegans.com. Oh, one last thing. They give some recommendations if you're looking for content to fill the void, I believe they said. Oh, yes. Excellent. Definitely. Let's toss that out there. Yeah. I think it was Andy that said he didn't really have any podcast recommendations because neither one of them really listened to other vegan podcasts. Thanks a lot, guys, by the way. Hey, no, I'm kidding. Don't do that. I'm teasing. Anyway, they gave some recommendations on some things you can listen to or watch or seek out. There's Jake Conroy. I don't know if you're familiar with Jake Conroy. He's known as the Cranky Vegan. He has a really great YouTube. He's an activist and does some really great YouTube videos on activism, on vegan activism. They also recommend Yvette Baker, who is the vegan abolition, if I could say the word, the vegan abolitionist.
on Instagram. They recommend the book Aphorism, essays on pop culture and feminism and Black veganism from two sisters, a book by Af and Sil Ko. And there's always hope for the animals. They do vegan interviews. I know Andy's been interviewed. Okay, so I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping to wrap things up. We want to make this a little bit of a shorter episode. The holidays are coming, and you all don't have a whole lot of time on your hands to be sitting back and listening to podcasts. So
there you go.
So email us any suggestions or questions that you have, restaurants you want us to review or try, books we should read, podcasts we should listen to. We're at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com. You can check us out at our website. We're at www.compassionandcucumbers.com. We do still have our fundraiser for Mockingbird Farms Animal Sanctuary going on at our Buy Me a Coffee site, and that's at buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers. So with that, I will say that Sam needs to say the following 7 words in tribute to our bearded vegans.
We are Compassion and Cucumbers, signing off.
Bye-bye! If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers and buy us a cup of coffee. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting us in what we're doing. We're really having a good time with it.